how could these two groups possibly meet at the same place? You know, the social progressive movement, which is completely against, and you have the far right crazy from KKK to Islam militant, Islamic jihadists. Like, how could they all agree when they don't agree with each other, but they could like all march in solidarity together about this? The Jews, we don't understand. The Jews present a problem. I'm going to say a few different things. Statistically, 2,000 years ago, near 2,000 years ago, during the time of the Second Temple around, there were about 8 to 10 million Jews in the world, worldwide, right? We'll say Chinese, and the reason why this is often compared to the Chinese is because the Chinese is probably also ahead of the Jewish people in terms of the oldest ancient civilization that is still survived till today, right? There were many other ancient civilizations, but they did not surpass and survive from that time until today. There's some that begin before the Jews. They still haven't survived until today. But the Chinese have. So we look at a comparison, about 25 million Chinese at this point. Rabbi Kessin brought this point, by the way. If you fast forward the time to today, what do you have? 1.4 billion Chinese, and you only have 15 million Jews. Where's all these Jews? What happened? Now, of course, many will argue, oh, well, this was assimilation, but trust me, there's been murder after murder. There's been pogroms. There was all different type of, like, Jews have been slaughtered and killed. Now, what's interesting about this is that we have, even before you get to the later prophets, Moses himself says that what happens, one of the punishments from God is that the Jewish people will remain small in number. You'll be exiled from your land. The land itself will become barren. You will be despised by the other nations that you're sent to. Like, this is all like in the Bible, and this is all in history. You can match up history specifically with what Moses actually predicted, right? So fast forward already and get to the future prophets. This is what brought me to Judaism. This is exactly what brought me to Judaism, because it was something that you can't deny. You could argue about whether or not you could find archaeological evidence of the Exodus from Egypt. You could argue about if you can find archaeological evidence of a King David. What do you have in history that says there was a King David? Even though there are some things, but we could say whatever you want to argue this and that. But one thing you can't argue is the thing that God said himself, that how would the rest of the world know of his existence? Prove through science, do whatever you want. God says the way that you'll know of my existence is through the Jewish people. If you see that they survive until the end, when you look in the future and when I bring them back into their land, people don't understand. Eretz Yisrael was completely barren. It was written by Mark Twain. Many of the other settlers, I forget his name, Arthur, or whatever his name was, who was from Queen Victoria, who went there on the pilgrimage to the Holy Land. Everybody reported that the land was in bad shape. It was barren. Nothing grew there. The earliest settlers, the Talmidim, the disciples of the Baal Shem Tov, lived there 300 years ago. The Arizal was there 500 years ago. I mean, we could just talk about the ancient Jewish settlements that were there. Everybody from any side, Ottoman Empire, everybody understood that the land was a barren place. Nothing grew. The prophet in Ezekiel in the 36th chapter says that what's the sign? When I bring the Jews back, you'll see that the land will again grow fruit and will grow vegetation. This is all here in the Bible. This is a problem for the rest of the world. Why is it a problem for the left and right? What am I getting at here? Islam has a goal. And my respect to good Muslims, I'm not trying to alienate anybody. I just want to be very, very honest about what jihadists believes in the Islamic hadiths.
This is theological. You're talking on theological terms.
Mahdi, exactly. People have to understand this from it. And the West, they don't understand this, so they're not looking at it how other people could possibly be looking at it from the religious standpoint. They have a prophecy from their prophet Muhammad and in the hadiths that Islam will be the single world religion. It is going to take over the whole entire world. They believe in that. They are Islamic jihad. In the end, they will take over the world. They have a big problem, right? Because the Tati religion, the dad religion, is still here. And the prophecies that the Jews are still surviving is a major problem for them, because that is indicating that the God of Israel's word is actually the true word. The only way that I could prove that God is really by us and not by them is we have to exterminate them. They can't be anymore. That's the only way that we could prove that God doesn't exist, because this is how this God of Israel says that he exists. On the left, what's the problem? Everybody has seen, no matter where you stand, and there's varying degrees of where people understand or look at certain things and how they support and what they don't support. But the moral decay compared to what the actual standard of the biblical story. I mean, I remember back in the day when they started taking out the 10 Commandments, when we could no longer pray in school and different things like that. There's a war on God. There's a war on ethics, war on biblical morality, right? The world has moved further and further away from it. And the progressives, that side, wants to completely extinguish anything that has to, we can't have man and woman and married and all that. What are you talking? The whole everything that God talks about, they want the exact opposite. With something standing in the way, can they fight with God himself? No. The Jews are the problem. Because guess what? And this is something Hitler Yamak Shimon said himself. He understood this, right? They may not be able to say the words, but what is this problem that they have with the Jews? Because the Jewish people being here are the witnesses. God says, you are my witnesses of what? The witnesses that I exist. The fact that there's Jews, because you shouldn't be here. You should not be here. And from a historian, it doesn't matter how you want to chop it up to science, historically, wherever you want to look at it. You don't even have to go to the Bible. Jews should not be here. We don't have a possible explanation for why there's still Jews in the world after all of this time, except for the fact that the God of Israel says it. So they cannot. So I'm looking at it, obviously from a spiritual standpoint, but I just can't figure out any other way that these two, and they have a common goal.
That of all these causes going on, the thing that stands in their way of various agendas, whether it's from the far woke progressive left or from from Islamic radicalism, it's like, and even historically Christian hostility towards Jews. There's like we stand in this sort of way of a particular goal or agenda.
It's a proxy war, basically. It's a proxy war. They can't fight with what they want to fight with, so they'll use us.
Yeah,
right. I'm saying the war. Exactly. It's the a couple weeks ago. I think it was a week before. We read it was the Torah portion of Noah. And the Tower of Babel, which ends the beginning. What were they trying to do? They're trying to build up a tower to go and fight God. And I say humanity's still, we've never stopped doing this. We're just trying to figure out a different way. So from the moment after this, years after that God deems Abraham to be, the father of the Jewish nation, and then from him to Isaac to Jacob and to the 12 tribes, you've had this upheaval, this wanting to destroy that seed, that Jewish seed. You're wanting to destroy that seed from many different nations, and it has never gone away. That's why we say Ve'ishamda every Pesach, that in every generation, it never fails. Who could imagine? We still have people calling for the extermination of the Jewish people in 2023. In 2023, this is like looking at something that's like out of a history book or something like that. That you can still have people with that type of hate and rage to say that you want to extinguish an entire group of people. You understand?
I told an audience last night that it feels like we're living in the opening scene of a Holocaust movie.
Absolutely.
Like when you look around the world right now. And it feels like history has been in, like, the darkest moments in our history that we thought we've rid ourselves of have now imposed itself. This shadow is back. It's like the Dark Lord is back. The Dark Lord of anti-Semitism, of Jews being exterminated, is back. It feels really that cinematic, and it's stranger than fiction.
It's crazy. It's like every day you want to pinch yourself and be like, is this a dream? They're really doing that in Brooklyn. They're really doing that in Russia. They're really doing that in Australia. They're really like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's people don't realize this. But the exciting part, which is, that you could look at it, is like from a spiritual standpoint. And when I look at the biblical prophecies of what was supposed to be, the world has to turn against the Jewish people, because ultimately, like I said, it's the battle against God that they want.
Right.
And
so this is all in the script.
God's gonna stand up. It's all in the script, man. It's in the script. What I'm saying is that it's only proving the situation more. I was in a conversation with somebody just the other day, and I was hearing, everybody wants to talk to this person. They tell this person that, you know what, you only see things one way, and they go, no. This person told me straight out, no, everybody else is wrong. I'm right, and I just like, do you not realize you're only proving the point? You understand what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? No, you Jews are wrong. No, Judaism is horrible. It's wrong and all this and all you people should die and all that. It's like you're just kind of like proving the Jewish Bible like more right,